the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to episode 198 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. Today, we're going to be talking with Jake Alexander, an investment specialist here at Costa Rica Investments. We're going to be talking to Jake, kind of about the most common questions he gets asked by investors and people looking to make Costa Rica home, and also see where he thinks there's opportunity to invest in Costa Rica in the market in 2024. Jake spends quite a bit of time with clients and also analyzing a lot of properties with analysts here in the office. So I thought great to get him on the podcast, just kind of discuss his thoughts and his predictions of kind of what's going on in 2024. I don't know that anybody has been to the website recently, but if you go to investingcostarica.com, scroll down on the page, you'll find there's a curated investments section. You can log in there. We have actually analyzed a bunch of properties there based on returns, locations, rentability, et cetera, and kind of giving it a grade like Moody's does. So you can feel free to go to the website, investingcostarica.com, find the curated investments section, sign up, and then you can get access to all of that as well. If there are any properties you want us to analyze as well, feel free to email us, info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. For the moment, we're doing free analysis on properties. So if you're thinking about investing here in Costa Rica, send it across to us and we'll take a look at the data and see what we can find for you to give you an idea of what your return is going to be. If you're enjoying this podcast, guys, please give us a great review. Those on Apple, just give us 5 stars, on Spotify as well. If you're listening on YouTube, just write us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you and really appreciate everyone's support. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good afternoon, Jake. How are you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Richard. I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, man. Good, man. Great to get you on the podcast again. I mean, I think last time we had you on here, you were doing Bizspirations, and now we're working together. Even though before Bizspirations, we did work together. So it's we're kind of putting the team back together over here.
Yeah, coming back full circle here.
Exactly. Always. Well, I thought it'd be great to get you on the podcast just because, again, some of your experiences, with water and also developing kind of land here, and you've lived in Quepos for many years, had a business as well. So, and also getting your viewpoint of just kind of like, some of the common questions, where real estate is overpriced and also where we see the opportunity is. So I thought good to get you on to give the listeners some information. But, markets have had a somewhat good start to 2024. We'll see what the rest of the year kind of holds to them. Real estate worldwide is slowing down. I think we can see that here. I mean, what are you seeing happening here in Costa Rica, Jake?
I mean, I look at my calendar for June and, I've got six different clients in areas all over the country, from up in Tamarindo down to here in Manuel Antonio, Dominical, up in Arenal, in San Jose.
Yep.
So, I think we're staying busy, and hopefully it continues. I don't think. Look, it's not that crazy boom we had, after COVID. Certainly not. But people are still coming down here and they're serious about buying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that it's slowing down. I'm starting to see that in some of the price cuts as well. I mean, on our last, podcast that we did here with Dan Chaput of Costa Private Loans, he was talking that his inquiries are 50% down. I mean, our inquiries are not 50% down, probably even 100% up, more than that, But I mean, I think what we do is a little bit more unique, than just trying to sell real estate. But I think in most of the areas of Costa Rica, I would say kind of around non-key areas, but I'm even starting to see it in some key areas like Santa Teresa, and in some areas like Dominical, prices are starting to come down. So there's definitely a slowdown happening. What that's going to do to numbers, I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting 2024, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And even I wonder, as far as Dan's business goes, is there maybe less people interested in that kind of financing, or are they just finding other options as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would assume as inflation starts to hit in the US, the market slows down a little bit, even though it doesn't appear to be doing, with interest rates, because the whole idea is to reduce inflation, but that's been taking money from people potentially that do want financing, because again, if you're going to be a cash buyer here, you have to have that disposable income. So you must be doing pretty well. And I think this inflationary period plus interest rates has kind of probably hurt, the middle to kind of lower classes a lot more. And I think that who typically bought in Costa Rica was that upper, that mid to upper class. So we'll see if that continues, just because a lot of people are telling me stuff in the $1 million range is kind of sitting on the market for quite a while. The stuff in the $3-4 million is moving pretty well, and anything under $500,000-$600,000 is moving pretty well. It's just that, 750 to 1.5, 1.8, it's kind of just sitting there. So yeah. I think my daughter's about to come in here to the podcast. You're live, Priscilla.
Guest appearance.
You want to say hello? You can say hello. Okay, well, you got my daughter, 11-year-old daughter there come in. So anyway, she's the boss of the house, as you guys can see. So, I mean, Jake, what are some of the common questions that you get asked about investing in Costa Rica?
Yeah, absolutely. Where should I invest? What kind of financing options are out there? What does it cost to build? Where's the best ROI?
I mean, let's break down some of those questions then. I mean, where when someone's like, hey, where should I buy in Costa Rica? Where should I invest in Costa Rica? I mean, what is your response?
Actually respond with a question and ask them, how much of this is an investment for you versus a lifestyle for you? And based on that determines to a degree of where we're going to look.
And I mean, say that someone says, oh, it's pure investment. I mean, what are you looking at there compared to if someone's like, no, it's majority lifestyle?
Yeah, so for investment, I think you need to look at the big tourist areas. We always talk about if tourism shrinks, it shrinks around the main hubs.
Yeah.
Where does everyone go? Arenal, Memo Antonio, or Tamarindo, that kind of further north area of Guanacaste.
Yep.
And, if you, for example, the clients that I have under contract with the condo in Memo Antonio here, at first they were a bit lifestyle and investment, and they shifted to purely investment. So we said, hey, let's look at this, and here's a good option for you. And then with the analysis, okay, we're looking at about an 8% return, estimating expenses high, so it should be better. And, they're happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, what about the options of financing here? I mean, what is available to people?
The best option would be, of course, cash. But if that's not the thing from a financing standpoint, owner financing.
Yeah.
From a paperwork and logistical standpoint, that's always probably the best option. Other than that, you could do a HELOC loan if you have equity in your house in the States. Or you can look at some private lending here, like with Dan or some other banks. For example, Lafice is one of the options that we work with down here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on the owner financing, just because the owner financing, I mean, you can really dictate terms. I always say it's your price, my terms, or your terms, my price. So, you always get to kind of determine that. I mean, bank financing around here, is probably going to be fixed probably for a year or two at about 8.5%, maybe 9%. And then from there, it's probably going to jump up. I mean, if it did, it's probably going to be around about 11%. Private financing here can be like 12 to 14%, which can be pretty incredible. But yeah, it's yeah,
And from the private financing as well, I think one of the points Dan made was you need to have cash flow.
Yep.
So, if this is going to be like your personal residence, well, there's probably going to be a little bit more stipulations on what they're going to be lending on and what you need to have versus an investment property that is purely, cash flowing operation.
Yeah. You had mentioned, I mean, when someone talks about lifestyle there, I mean, what are some of the questions that you're asking them? I mean, I suppose you're trying to get to a location based on who they are and kind of defining locations based on what type of people they are.
Yeah. So asking them, if you live down here, describe to me your day.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And if they mention they really like going hiking, they like going to the beach, they also like the mountains. Okay, well then based on that, I'd say you're probably looking more in the Central South Pacific than up in, Guanacaste, Coco, Tamarindo area.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty interesting, once it comes to lifestyle, because I mean, no one wants to make a bad investment, that's for sure. I think it's just going to be a balance between that lifestyle and making sure you make the right investment. Just because, I just know that, some people, they make a decision of the heart rather than of the head, and just things don't sell as quickly here in Costa Rica, because of the financing available. Not everyone can go out and get it, so it's a lot more cash buyers. So, if you're going to make a decision of the heart, then yes, it's great, but like just make sure you're making a decision also of the head, so that if you did want to exit it, it could be a quick exit.
Yeah, I think, the way we like to describe it is you need to be okay with how it is now because you can't be speculative on how it might change.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with living off of a dirt road and you understand you're a little bit outside of town and you're well aware that you might have a little bit more difficulty exiting at the end, go for it.
Yeah.
But it's good to keep that exit plan in mind so that when the time does come, either to sell, move on to a different house, etc., or even change it from a lifestyle property to an investment property, that
Yep.
you at least hopefully have that option.
Well, I mean, that happens to a lot of people when they come down here. They come down here, with, eyes very wide open and very happy. And then, adjusting to the Costa Rican culture is not for everyone. It's very laid back, it's very relaxed, and access to stuff is just not as easy as it is in the US. You don't just click a finger and stuff turns up here. I mean, it's getting better, of course, in some areas, here in the Central Valley, yes. But as you move further out towards the beaches where most people are looking to live, it just gets a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I think even, for example, 20 minutes south of Manuel Antonio, there's Portolón, Hatillo,
Yep.
great little towns. But like if you forget something at the grocery store, like you're not going back.
Yeah.
Like hopefully the pulperia's got it down the street, but
Yeah.
you're not the access isn't there to like the major grocery store that you have if you live in Quepos or Manuel Antonio. That's 10 minutes away, if that.
What are some of the areas of Costa Rica that you think are overpriced, and why, Jake?
Yeah, Santa Teresa, Nosara. I think they just became inundated with extremely expensive properties, and the occupancy and the daily rate that you would need to be able to make a decent return on your investment. I mean, you can do a way better with spending less.
Yeah.
So I think those places are definitely up there in the overpriced.
And why do you think like the craziness of Santa Teresa happened? Like Nosara, I kind of get a little bit, and I think that there's a little bit more longevity in Nosara, just because again it's a subdivided, it's a little bit more organized, even though you wouldn't know it by the roads sometimes. But like it's a good community there, lots of families, etc. Santa Teresa seems to be a little bit more, or it's fashionable, if that makes sense. And I'm not a big fan of fashionable destinations because they kind of come and go, like Tulum in Mexico. When things come in quickly, I think they'll go out quickly as well, like fashion. But I mean, why? Anything that you've got on your side that you think that these destinations just really rocketed in pricing?
I think they just became such a hot spot for like the digital nomad.
Yeah.
That it really priced out. Like, good luck finding someone who's a Costa Rican local that lives in Santa Teresa.
Yeah.
Like everyone moved to the short-term rentals and not really providing any sort of housing for locals. So it really pushed them out of there. And like you said, I think it was like the cool place to go. Like everyone talk about Costa Rica and they're like, oh, what about that place, Santa Teresa?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's like kind of like you said, Tulum.
A lot of people think it's bad that a lot of this development has happened and kind of push locals out. What's your opinion?
It's good and bad. I think it's important to have areas where locals can live. I think like Quepos Manuel Antonio kind of has a very unique situation for that.
Yep.
Where you have the town of Quepos and then Immaculada, and then even sprinkled in Manuel Antonio. You have these small but neighborhoods with local housing, and then next to it is $1 million ocean view property across the street.
Yeah.
So if you can develop if you can develop areas to also still provide housing to the local market, I think it's great. A really good example, someone showed us this property in Uvita. And it was 4 bedroom or 4 different apartments made for long-term rentals. And that's what's there. And you kind of have that mix still in with higher expensive homes that are there for short term, but there's still access to long-term stuff for the local population as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a balancing act. Some people think it's terrible because you can't live in Santa Teresa or downtown in Guiones anymore, but also it's just the services that arrived around it. I mean, beforehand, yes, okay, there just wasn't that many jobs. People weren't earning, amazingly well. But like with this development, yes, does come the opportunity as well. Yes, it makes certain areas more expensive that maybe locals can't afford to rent in. But if they had property before, that they've owned and then they resell it on, I mean, and if they want to resell it on, they don't need to, but I know many people that don't, but then with that money, they can live further out or move to another beach and build something close enough and etc. Like, I believe it kind of like, as long as it's done in a sustainable way, kind of the tide rises, all boats rise, as I love to say. So, but.
Yeah, and it gives the opportunity to create more neighborhoods. And if there's a neighborhood, there needs to be a pulperia. Well, there's an opportunity for someone else.
Yeah. What I found, Jake, is I found that there is a group of Costa Ricans, or Costa Ricans seem to go to a beach and live, and then it gets kind of cool, and then the foreigners come in. And we had that in Guiones, we had that in Santa Teresa, because all my friends had properties in Santa Teresa, and then 2021, they sold it all, and they're all moving to like Playa Coyote. They were moving to Grande, now they're kind of moving out of Grande. Like, these locals seem to go in, they're kind of cool surf group of people, and then they kind of get out. Pavones was one, Uvita, kind of is. And it's just very interesting how that dynamic has moved, because all I'm doing is asking my friends of like, where are your friends buying? Where are your friends moving to? Because I'm like, they're probably going to be the next cool beaches.
Yeah, Coyote is pretty cool. I was there like 2 years ago for off-road rally, and it's cool. I mean, there's just a whole strip along beachfront places there. You're not like just on the other side of the road, and some of them are even right on the beach there as well.
Yeah,
and it's definitely a cool little local town, and it's not really a pain to get to either.
Yeah. What areas do you think are underpriced?
Yeah, I think Arenal definitely provides a lot of opportunity, and also down in Uvita. Prime example, we're talking about not having to spend millions of dollars to get a nice property with a good return. That property that you helped our client buy in Arenal, was it like 170,000?
120.
120, put some money into it. And what's the return that he's looking at? 17, 18%.
Well, look, it's a 120. It was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. We're turning it into a 4-bedroom, 2-bath very easily, and then but his returns are going to be very, very good. I mean, and he was like, look, Rich, I'd never have found that without you. But I mean, that's, why people contact us, because, we're diamond hunters, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, I mean, I like Arenal, I like Uvita. I even think Monteverde has some legs on it as well. Samara, the data I think I'd mentioned in one of the webinars that we did, was pretty good. I'm just not I don't know, Samara just doesn't do it for me. I just like the tourism, all the high-end tourism that goes to Arenal and Uvita, and it doesn't go to Samara,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look at the travel agency. The majority of itineraries are always Arenal, and then either somewhere like near Memo Antonio or Tamarindo, Guanacaste area.
Yeah. I mean, what products do you think are missing in today's market here in Costa Rica? A lot of people are looking to invest or live down here and run a business. I mean, what are some of the product services, businesses that you think are missing?
Yeah, so long-term car rentals.
Yep.
Right now, if you want a car rental,
which we do, of course, Jake.
Right.
So, yeah.
Which we do. You either have to go to like Adobe and pay probably double or triple what it costs to do it through us.
Yep.
So that's one. And then what I would do for a good deli here, just like a proper,
I'm with you, man,
Northeast style deli. Oh, like, I don't know, just give me like a bacon, egg, and cheese, roast beef sandwich.
There is one in Tamarindo that this Argentinian guy has, just going into Tamarindo on the left-hand side. And it's spectacular. He makes all of his own meats and everything. But yeah, again, I believe we need more like sandwich places. It's not typical for Costa Ricans to have sandwiches, but in high tourism areas, like I just want a sub sometimes. And all those people that work there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Here in Manuel Antonio, there's Karen, but like you got to know Karen to get
True.
the sandwich from Karen. You're not going to go to a store and find her food there.
Yeah. Yeah, here in the city, we used to have the Sandwich Bros. They were awesome, dude. Their sandwiches were amazing, but I'm talking like 20 years ago. But I mean, a lot of people are looking to invest in Costa Rica. I mean, it's interesting because I think a lot, what I'm getting a lot at the moment is realtors in the States or people that were doing, syndication style deals or investment funds going, hey, Rich, I'm thinking about doing it in Costa Rica because I think that the party is now over in the US or deals are getting more difficult to find, meaning that people that kind of have fell into this post-pandemic, and kind of jumped on the gravy train, now it's kind of dried up a little bit and they think kind of Costa Rica is the next, big thing. And I'm like, look, guys, it is not easy to find deals here in Costa Rica. I mean, you need to really understand the market. You need to understand tourism. You need to understand development, building, and just the price to do stuff here in Costa Rica. Because, yeah, it can get very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to, it's not easy. But with, networking and also just taking into like how risky you want to be. A great way to buy land for cheap is to find land that doesn't have water on it.
Yeah. I mean, networking is definitely the way, or driving around. I mean, we do it a lot of the time, drive around. I mean, we have a Google map here with just like pins of all the different locations and the size of the land, etc. But yeah, I mean, finding opportunity in Costa Rica is not easy because a lot of the stuff that you find on, real estate websites has just been priced out. It's kind of, they're just trying to get as most as they can for their seller. I mean, every so often you'll find an opportunity in there. But yeah, I mean, Encuentro 24, I found a few things even on Facebook groups as well as being pretty good as well. Yeah, I mean, we have that section of the website that we have, the curated investments, where people can just log in and they can go in and see stuff that we've analyzed and see its grading, etc. But, finding opportunity in Costa Rica is difficult because there is no MLS.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best way, like you said, you got to drive around and look for the Se Vende sign.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be a great deal.
Yeah. I mean, I found one the other day in Arenal, which was 4 hectares. They want $200,000 for the 4 hectares, but I know I could probably get it down to like 150, maybe even 120, and then chop it up into 8 5,000 square meter lots. It's got stunning views of the volcano, and sell each one of those very easy, for $100,000 or $150,000. It has water, has a river running through it. It's an interesting lot that we're looking at. But I mean, what mistakes do you think people make when investing, or what mistakes do you see them make when investing in Costa Rica, Jake?
I think the biggest one is location.
Yeah.
They just choose the wrong place. And whether it's, too far out of town, I think that's probably the biggest one. People say, oh, I have a house for sale in Tamarindo, but when you look at it, it's 20 minutes away from the beach. Like, well, it's not really in Tamarindo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest one. Yeah, just, it needs to be in a place where there's going to be people coming and going and that people want to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had someone who didn't work with us in the end, but they ended up buying a hotel like, 20 minutes outside of Tamarindo. And I was like, dude, what have you done? Like, that's going to be so difficult. And like, even the hotels in Tamarindo, they do pretty well, but we're returning to some form of seasonality now. I say that the party is kind of, stopping here. But yeah, I'm sure he's having a pretty difficult time. But
yeah, because you got to be like in the action.
Yeah. Or at least close enough that you can walk in, but 20 minutes is not walk in.
No. Yeah, if you wanted it to be a little bit quieter, like look at Langosta.
Yeah. What are your predictions for the rest of 2024? I always love to ask this. I mean, what do you think is going to happen to pricing? I mean, what do you think is going to happen here?
I think we're going to see pricing coming down a bit. Maybe people being a little bit more aggressive on their numbers, especially for things that are sitting on the market.
Yep.
And, like you said, for us, I mean, we still have lots of people inquiring. So I think we're still going to have lots of people coming down that are serious about buying. It's just going to be, at what price point, and what's the financing going to be looking like for it if they need it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're probably going to find that there's going to be more kind of, owner financing deals available as well at some point. So, but yeah, I mean, my last question for you, Jay, because I've kept you long enough. I mean, if you inherited $500,000 and you had to invest it in a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
Yeah, so I'd probably buy, there's a 2-bedroom condo in Villa Del Parque right now. And after we analyzed it, I think it had like a 9% return. It's $350K for one condo, 2 separate units. That, and then I'd take the rest of the money and start a deli for Karen that I don't want to work at.
Yeah, have someone work in that, because that's going to be a lot of work, buddy.
Yeah. That's that wouldn't be for me. That would be more for me to enjoy being able to go there and eat.
Yeah, well, I would happily invest some money in the deli just to have something to go there and eat a good sandwich, dude. So I'm sure you'd find quite a few people. But awesome, Jake. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I appreciate you taking time to come on the podcast. Anyone that wants to reach out to Jake, all of his contact details will be in the description down below. But thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next one.
No worries. Bye. Great podcast there with Jake. As you can see, Jake is kind of in the trenches, as I like to say, with clients. So he has a very kind of unique viewpoint. I think as you start to, listen to all these podcasts, you'll start to get a varying different points of data and also viewpoints as well. But there should be some commonalities there, like sticking to key areas and also just making sure that you do an analysis of anything that you're going to buy as well. So, again, if you need any help, feel free to reach out to us, info@investing@costarica.com. Also in the link down below, you can also organize a 15-minute free consultation with us there. But it's going to be an interesting 2024, guys. What do I think is going to happen? I think we're returning to seasonality like 2019. I think some prices are going to start to come down a little bit. The Costa Rican colon is improving as well, which makes construction a little bit cheaper. We're about to start on 3 properties actually in Manuel Antonio. So this should be pretty interesting. But appreciate everyone listening to the podcast, all your support. I love it when people will just email in saying, hey, Rich, great job with the podcast. Thanks very much. If there are any topics you want us to cover, feel free to as well. We're more than, I can always have a hunt round and see who I can get on the podcast. But until the next podcast, guys, appreciate your support. Thanks. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.